I literally just took my mom to Swiss Chalet and said, hey mom, do you know this about me? And she's like, of course I already know this, and parents know lots of things, moms especially. But the story that I want to tell is actually my ex-husband's coming out story. Because when he came out, he was living in the United States at the time, and his parents brought a priest to come and do an exorcism. And it was like, I mean, it's something just so ridiculous. You can't believe how over the top that can be. And the difference between a story like that and a story like mine, which was just chicken at Swiss Chalet.
I was in Belleville, Ontario, and I had too much wine to drink, and my parents were in San Diego, California. And I don't know, something just triggered it, and I phoned, and my mother went, and I guess I kind of got angry because they didn't react. And she's like, honey, I knew when you were born. And I'm like, so I guess I was kind of looking for the reaction that, but I didn't get it.
So I waited a really long time to finally come out. I would usually sort of just go traveling and try and figure myself out. But there came a point where I was back in Ontario and I was concerned that I was becoming more and more openly gay, and I was getting to be concerned that my parents were going to find out from someone else, and I thought that would be way more hurtful than to hear it from me. So I finally built up the courage, and my parents were separated, so I had to have 2 separate conversations with them. And I couldn't believe how upset I was, even though I wasn't really worried about the reaction. I knew that they were going to be okay and everything was going to be fine, but I bawled the whole time. And my mom reacted really well, where she knew already. It wasn't a surprise to her. And my dad wasn't terribly surprised, but at the same time, he wanted to know, did you really give it your best? Did you really try it with girls? And I just sort of had to dismiss it and be like, Dad, I've thought about this for a long time, and I'm really sure.
My coming out was pretty quiet, I guess. Basically, I was talking to my mom one night about a friend of mine who was having issues with her girlfriend, and basically I mentioned something about having a crush on her, and she's like, oh, so you like girls then? And I'm like, I like everybody. And she's just like, oh, okay.
My coming out story, I was in grade 9, so I was about 14 turning 15. I had a girlfriend, and I just brought her home, and we cuddled on the couch. After she left, my mom was like, so you like girls? And I said yes. And then my dad kind of said the same thing. They were kind of confused. They didn't completely understand it. But yeah, they were pretty easygoing with it. It wasn't like a get out of the house kind of thing. They were like, okay, interested, but didn't really know how to react, but they were still definitely loving and caring and interested.
My coming out story, well, I was 39 years old, so that was 12 years ago that I finally found the courage to come out. I was married for a number of years. I have 2 beautiful daughters. At the time I came out, they were 3 and 5 years old. So for me, coming out was more about how it was going to affect my children than me. So I did a lot of research. I read a lot of books. Back in that day, went online and just researched the proper way to come out. Well, there was for me, because again, for me, the focus was my coming out. I didn't want it to have any negative impact on my kids. And I actually bought a book that I recommend to anybody who's coming out called Outing Yourself. I can't remember the author, but it was a very short book, but it was very helpful in my process. And this is a year and a half after I was divorced. A lot of people think that because I was married and have children, that's why I came out, but it's not. It was a year and a half afterwards. I actually dated another woman for a while and then realized I can't go down that road again. I need to do it for myself and be happy. And what was really liberating about it is I realized when I finally made that decision to come out, that it was all my fear that kept me in the closet. Because the only thing any of my family said to me was, are you happy? My response was yes, and that's all they cared about. So it was all in my head psychologically. And you have to remember, I grew up in a different time. I graduated high school in 1985. I didn't want to be the gay kid, and I was already I have three brothers, so 4 boys in my family. I was the only one that didn't play hockey, with a dad who was the president of the Minor Hockey Association in the small town I grew up in. 500 kids in my high school, so there was a lot of pressure to not be gay. And yeah, so my coming out story actually is a great story because I had parties thrown for me. Very positive experience. I don't have any of the horror stories that you hear of some people who come out and they get shunned by their family and friends. Just the opposite. Even my ex-wife, who is a psychologist, called me up one day because my daughter outed me to her. My youngest daughter told my ex-wife, Daddy doesn't have a girlfriend anymore, he's a boyfriend now. And I got a phone call one night after my kids had already gone to sleep, and it was my ex-wife saying, I'm just not sure what to make of this. And she asked me the question, and I said, yeah. And she asked me how long I'd known. I said, well, you're a psychologist, so you probably know the answer. I've always known, but yeah, it's your own fears and insecurities that keep you closeted. And when you come out, it's one of those things that you think life is going to be so much easier now because that weight is off my shoulders. It's really not. You know, life has still been very hard and difficult, but it's one less thing that you have to worry about. And I was talking to somebody tonight. When you come out, you're always coming out. I find any new situation I'm in, moving to Barrie recently, working with a new group of people that I didn't know and didn't know me, you're always coming out, which is why I'm very open about it. I don't hide the fact. I did for a very long time, and I refuse to. I'm out of the closet, and I'm not going back in for anyone else.